what I thought I'll do just for a very short time is to remind those who do not know what ULP and those that know ULP, and I see veterans, ULP people here. Hey, there's my brother here. Why? One. Here in ULP, we want to develop a certain type of a leader. And we want to unleash the potential of that type of a leader. Almost ULP has got a brand, and it wants to focus on making sure that we unleash a certain type of a leader. If I say in our country today, we've got leadership crisis, it's an understatement. But I'm sure Brother Reuel will cover that. In fact, now I can't call him Bra, he's my dad. So Babu Reuel. So I just thought, have you got it, 10 traits of a leader? And I call it ULP leader because there's a lot of people now who are part of this family. And I just want to make sure that you know what we stand for and what we want type of a leader. And there's 10 traits. I'm not going to go through them. I'm going to deal with 5. And then if you want to hear more on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock here, you can come, then you'll get the next 5. I'll give you an installment. When you reach your finishing line, you see, Brother Reuel is heading to his 70s now. And your finishing line could be retirement, like Dave, or it could be at the end when you pass on. When you reach your finishing line, what type of a leader we would describe you to be? That's a ULP leader that we want. First, 5, just verify very quickly. You have spent all your talents to the best of your potential, and you have done great work. So in other words, you have really used your talents, your gifts. You have not spared anything. And you really delivered. You know, Miles Monroe says the most rich place is not the platinum gold mines, but it's the graveyard, because a lot of people go there having not really delivered on the potential that they have. So if you're a ULP leader, that's what we want. So I'm going to hold you accountable about how you are actually using your potential and delivering on it. Because to me, that's the mission why we are here. The second one, you've played at your zone of excellence. We don't want mediocrity here. We don't want entitlement here. We don't want you people, J.F. Kennedy said, don't ask what the government should do for you. Ask what are you going to do for the government. We don't want people who are here looking for somebody to do something for them. The world owes you nothing, including South Africa. But we want you to operate at your zone of excellence and have impeccable standards. And that's what we really want a ULP leader to be demonstrated as you go outside, as you spend a lot of time with us. Some of you, we spend time with you on Saturdays here. And the third one, you must reach your highest vision. Each one of us have got a dream, and that dream you must make sure you implement it. And we will help you, we'll facilitate it, we will mentor you, we'll coach you, but it is you to reach that dream. And you've got a real responsibility to reach that dream, because you'll be held accountable for that dream if you do not deliver. And the world will be poorer if you don't deliver your story. And the fourth one, you build people, you didn't tear them down. And we don't want leaders that tear people down. Have you ever had a boss that really makes you feel stupid because you've made a mistake, and he scolds you like a little baby? And when it comes in the morning, depends on the mood in which you are, he spoils the whole day. We want leaders. Come in, Nasima, come in, Nasima, come in. And so, finally, life is never going to be easy if you're a leader. But we want leaders who will never lose hope. Even if you go down, and you remember the story when Dr. Reuel was here, I asked him specifically to tell us about when he fell down, Reuel. Some of you not even know about that story, but how he came out. And that's what we want to see you doing. Tough times are going to come, but it's only tough people that last. So that's it. I finished my part. You got it? Right. Let me really introduce you to Reuel. Dr. Reuel Khoza is a distinguished thinker And I've seen him thinking a lot. He's a businessman. He's a president of the Institute of Directors. And I wish most of you to join this institute, because what he's passionate about is governance, which is lacking in our state-owned enterprises, lacking in government, lacking even in corporate world. And he's very passionate about that. So if you want to know more, talk to me. I will make sure that you're part of that. He's unapologetically Africanist in his outlook, because he believes that Africa's time has come. And he's do a lot of public speaking, change agent, particularly in the economic empowerment space. He's a practitioner and a theorist in the field of African leadership. And he's a role model in corporate life. I have known him in two capacities. I served with him at Wits Business School. He serves in a number of universities, as you can see, Rhodes, Free State, Stellenbosch, University of Limpopo. And then also he serves together with me at Sasol Oil. He's a member of the board, and that's an organization I chair. It's wonderful to see him in action as a corporate leader in this country. What is he doing currently? Currently, he's focusing on Zana investment. He said he's a family now. He wants to build a family investment. But also, come in, you're welcome. Come in, you're welcome. Globalec is an organization that is focusing on energy, particularly looking at all the opportunities in the continent. As you know, that we need to get our continent energy light up, alternative energy sources, IPPs, as well as renewable energies. He's looking at that. He's been in the energy space. He was a chairman of ESCOM. When ESCOM, first the lights were on, they were never off when you were there. I remember very well. Secondly, there was not the scandals that we see now, which is very embarrassing for our nation. But he's also been the chairman of Nedbank Group. That's where he gets his strict governance. Glasgow, Smith and Klein serves on a number of boards, JSC, Old Mutual, NAMPAC, Liberty Life, Standard Bank, and then Sasol Oil, and we serve together there. He studied extensively. He's got a doctorate, not the honorary one. Yeah. Nami I told honorary one. Now, I told her. You know, as long as I'm nominated, just it. This one, we found the thesis. He wrote the thesis, and he studied at the University of Warwick, Rhodes University in law, on res causa. And he's a writer. Where are his books? He's outside. Please don't make a mistake. Buy his books. They are outside there, and he's prepared to autograph the book for you when we finish here. Attuned Leadership, Let Africa Lead, the African in My Dream. And I've asked him to speak from the heart. So he doesn't have a set of slides, because what we found, it works very well over years now of running this, is when somebody speaks from the heart, speaks from what he's learned, from the experience, not from the textbook, and share that. And as he shares that, he'll share for about 30 minutes or so, or 40 minutes, and then we'll have enough time. So write your questions. This is a time you must make sure that you really ask the man. He's wise. He's got a lot of experience. Take the opportunity. Any question, especially those that I'm mentoring, I can see most of you, and you come to me and you ask me the questions. I want you to ask him so that you can get a different perspective, because sometimes when you're going to get a perspective from me only, it's not right. That's why we've structured this whole program of ULP, that you're exposed to as many leaders as possible, so that you're not a clone of one leader. And that's the most important thing. So without any waste of time, Dad, come up front. Let's give him a round of applause.
Maurice, shall I say son? Thank you very much for those very kind words of introduction. Maurice could actually have introduced me in one sentence. Here's my dad, Reuel Khoza, a retired capitalist without capital. That would have done it. Because I've been striving valiantly for, I think, close on 40 years trying to amass capital. I'm still without. But perhaps other forms of capital, Maurice could attest that I have a bit of, I try to teach at no less than 3 universities currently. I used to teach at 4 universities as a visiting professor. So perhaps that's a kind of wealth. Problem is, it's not edible. Maurice insisted that I shouldn't come here and read you a written speech. That sounds very, very intelligent. I should just talk, and then we will converse. And he suggested that, amongst others, perhaps I should make detours to the book Attuned Leadership, which I will try to do. I'll start by merely making a few observations pertaining to leadership. Now, my sense is that unethical leadership is not leadership at all. It's actually misleadership. So if you want to lead me without the requisite moral authority, chances are you will mislead me. And chances are, at my age, I will not follow you, because I'll be able to see through you. So leadership is about taking people from where they are to where they have not been, but a desired destination, a desirable destination. I want to make a few observations, and then I'll talk about what I consider to be effective leaders. Let me make this observation. I was a head boy until I was about 17. So my observation is that a head boy without a head, a shepherd without sheep following him, is a wanderer. I also want to believe that vision without proper articulation, vision without committed, dedicated pursuit to realize, is a hallucination. Now, leaders. The best of leaders that I've come across are those that are very, very sound, value system predicated and beckoned by a compelling vision. You've got to be anchored in sound values and be beckoned by a compelling vision. Now, a good number of the leaders that I've come across that have truly been leaders are those that have been able to articulate their sense of destiny. It is from your proper understanding and articulation of your sense of destiny that you will articulate your destination. Your destination, in other words, is your vision. Your vision is nothing but your desired end state articulated as a literary vignette, articulated as a picture painted in words. And the more clearly you paint that picture, the better it will be for you to persuade people to come along with you. When Nelson Mandela spoke about what he was prepared to die for, if needs be, but which he would like to live to realize, he articulated it so vividly that when he was beginning to campaign, people knew this was the person to follow. When Obama spoke about a sense of efficacy. Yes, we can. Not only I can, but you and I can together. He actually was able to ignite the youth in the US to follow him. And he won in spite of the fact that he was the first black presidential candidate. And he won a second time. It was all to do with a sense of efficacy. The idea that I can, but meaning it. There are those who out in Polokwane in 2007 said we can. And you know they were lying. So say you can with a proper sense of efficacy. You can, and you have actually prepared for that ability. Yes, we can. When Martin Luther King articulated his campaign for the human rights in the US, he actually visualized an end state where his children were going to be judged or assessed by the content of their character and not by their pigmentation. Clear communication. So effective leaders are those who have a sense of destiny. I am here on earth for a purpose. And from that sense of destiny, I can articulate my destination, which is my vision. And I am anchored in what you would call a sound value system. When I provide leadership, I rely on moral authority. Now, when the current political leadership came to the fore, and I was called upon to comment, I said, well, perhaps they should meet the following criteria. First criterion, they should be able to deal with complexity because the world is becoming progressively more and more complex. Ability to deal with complexity. I said second criterion, they should actually to understand the phenomenon of globality and globalization. Now, what I have discovered is that a good number of them cannot even spell globalization properly. The world has become a neighborhood. You cannot think parochially. You cannot think like a villager, which I happen to be from Bushbuck Ridge, and want to lead a sophisticated political economy. You will mislead. So the third thing is understand what it is you are going to lead as essentially a socio-political economy. Now the social bit might actually manifest in your ability to sing or perhaps even dance. But the complexity I'm talking about says you understand dynamics where human beings are concerned. In other words, you must have read beyond chapter 13 of a psychology textbook. You must understand economics. You must understand politics, but understand them as dimensions in perfect tango. But it doesn't just come. It takes a lot of studying. So I said, ability to deal with complexity, ability to appreciate the phenomenon of globalization and globality, and third, I said, deal with a political economy, not just politics. Because politics can be ideologically charged. You could actually thrive on slogans. You can toy, you can even dance, and you wind up being somewhat popular in the populist sense. That does not make you a leader in the 21st century. What makes you a leader in the 21st century is to be popular. Popularity and populism are two things. Popularity says you actually have something to give. I would also insist that whoever wants to lead me in the 21st century must have moral authority. Mere authority that says I can dispense largesse, I can give things. It's no authority from where I sit. So I would say, fourth, if you want to lead me in the 21st century, also have moral authority. If you want to lead me in the 21st century also, you must be able to empathize. You must be able to step into my boots in my multiplicity, because I'm not one person, I'm the population. So those, I would suggest that if you're talking about leadership in the 21st century, will be some of the issues that you would have to grapple with. Maurice suggested that I make detours to attuned leadership. What is attuned leadership? What does it mean to be attuned? The adjective attuned I borrowed from music. I tried to be a musician. I studied music. I tried to conduct music, to conduct choirs, and to sing as a youngster. So I learned a few vocabularies from there. Attuned leadership comes from there. Attuned means in tune leadership. In other words, resonating with those that you purport to lead. That's what attuned leadership is about. It has a number of dimensions. Now, those dimensions start with yourself. Being self-attuned. Before you make yourself available as a leader, you must actually first do introspection. Get to understand yourself, and if you don't what it takes to be a leader, do humanity a favor. Don't step onto the plate. Second, attunement has to do with being attuned to the situation. Now, attuned situation presupposes you doing a thorough analysis of the situation and understanding it in its superficiality as well as in its depth. You cannot say I understand people, meaning you understand people superficially. Their needs will vary and vary very extensively. The kind of followership, particularly at the national level, that you are going to provide will be providing to a very diverse and heterogeneous population. So it presupposes proper situational analysis, be attuned to the situation in its totality. Third dimension, be attuned to the needs and aspirations of the people. Because not only do they have needs and wants, they want to be taken somewhere as a nation. So be attuned to that as well as the third dimension. Be attuned also to the moral imperatives of integrity and efficacy. Be attuned as well to history. Where do you come from? Not just remembering a few dates, but studying history with a view to inform the present. And studying the present with a view to inform the future. That's historical attunement. So we have the dimensions, not so. Attuned to self, attuned to situation, attuned to the needs and aspirations of the people, attuned in a historical dimension. Now, if you are going to provide leadership in a corporate environment, what are some of the dimensions? And I've written extensively about them in attuned leadership. I'll give you a mnemonic device so that perhaps you can remember, like I remember, the key elements. The first, well, let's just mention what the mnemonic device is. It's E-crafty. First, your leadership will cover a raft of activities. Now, I said raft. Raft is a mnemonic device, as I see it. Raft with the R standing for responsibility. If you want to provide leadership in governance terms, you must cover a raft of activities. The first responsibility is responsibility. The second issue that you have to understand fully would be accountability. If you're going to be a leader, you will be held accountable. The F in the raft would stand for fairness. Unless you're going to be a fair leader, chances are you will erode or corrode your leadership sooner rather than later. The T stands for transparency. We have seen a lot of opacity in recent times. Our leaders are opaque. You can't read them. Now, I said it is E-crafty. The first, as it were, is a sense of efficacy, efficiency. The stance that says I can, meaning it. The C, before the craft, stands for capability and credibility. You must be a credible being in order to provide leadership. And the last thing in I-crafty is I standing for integrity. And with those, I want to believe that you will be in a position to provide proper leadership or proper governance. But those are not enough. What is it that made Mandela stand apart? I think essentially because he had presence. You also have to have gravitas. You also have to have what the Amazulu call istunzi, siriti. There are some people who are packed to the brim with knowledge, but if they said, come follow me, you would battle to follow them because they don't have the requisite gravitas. So you also have to have, in addition to that, the requisite dignity. And the dignity doesn't come freely. You actually earn it. In Attuned Leadership, I also write about the distinction between personality and personhood. Personality, all of us do have, even thugs have personality. It is just not a desirable personality. Personhood is what you earn by dint of behaving as a human being ideally behaves. You earn that at the interface with those that you purport to lead, other human beings. We do say in isiZulu, "Agyenumuntu, hasimutu." When we say hasimutu, we don't mean you are dead. We mean you have lost the humanity. You have lost that which makes you human. In isiZulu, we also say inswela boya. In other words, the only thing that is now remaining is for you really, if you had the skin of an animal, you'll be an animal. Inswela boya. So earning personhood is something that you actually have to do. You earn by dint of behaving as human beings do. Those who rape, kill, pillage, use their humanhood or your personhood. So as a good leader, you must also have personhood. A good number of our leaders, due to corruption, have actually lost their personhood. That is why you have people actually asking for them to actually give way. It is personhood, not personality, that they have lost. I, at times, also use, I was saying to my grandson there that in recent times I've actually been producing music. Now, a good leader is like a good conductor. A conductor conducts people who may be excellent in playing violin. He may not be a violinist himself. Excellent in guitar, he may not be a guitarist himself. Excellent in oboe, he may not oboist himself. Excellent in all manner of instruments, wind and string instruments. But a good leader, a good conductor will actually produce rousing music by his sheer presence. So you can liken good leadership to good choral conducting or good orchestral conducting. Those are some of the elements that I felt perhaps I could mention by way of flagging the kinds of things that we might like to discuss once we get conversational. I would also like to add a few personal qualities of a good leader in the 21st century, or an able leader who is also relying on moral authority in the 21st century. First is insight. If you're talking about qualities, insight. Seeing the world from the followership's vantage point and embracing their world and their worldviews non-judgmentally, to walk, as it were, in their moccasins. Second will be inspiration. A good leader actually inspires, engendering a sense of follower self-worth, pride in current status, and hopefulness in the future. In the relationship of leader and led, it is vital to strike a balance between reality and potential, inspiration. Third dimension, I would suggest commitment. Unless you have commitment, I don't believe you are going to be able to provide leadership. You need to ardently pursue an agreed course of action, but remain willing to be flexible and respond to changes in the environment or in people's expectations. It's a dynamic relationship. Fourth, I would suggest probity. More often than not, people criticize me on probity. Probity relates to behaving in a manner that is and is seen to be beyond reproach. In reality, you're talking about a flawless leadership, and there is no such. But I am insisting that our leaders should strive for flawless leadership. That keeps them on the straight and narrow and behaving. Probity, behaving in a manner that is without reproach and seen to be without reproach. And fifth, I would say, courage. Churchill says that is in fact the first feature of leadership, because without courage, you can't step onto any leadership plate, neither can you actually blaze a trail. So courage, absolutely essential. I would suggest that by way of flagging what I wanted to flag, perhaps I stop there and we can engage in conversation so that I answer questions. I resonate with you as audience as opposed to pontificating, talking extra cathedral as if I was a preacher.